There
Dun,
we
dun,
go.
dun.
Yo,
Hey Sean,
Hi.
you all right?
yeah. How you
It's
guys doing?
good.
Good. How are you?
I am very well, very well. We woke up today, so we already won, you know?
Yeah.
Amen.
We already won once, so we're
Amen.
doing very well. You guys at home?
Yes, this is Casa Yink's dining room.
Mm,
Books
was
is
very nice. Nice abode. Nice home.
where are you right now?
I'm in my studio actually right now in my house.
Nice. You know,
Yeah.
you have got the snazziest setup that we've seen of any Zoom we've done because we've done quite a few over the pandemic. And
Really?
logo in the back, the little grey, palette to going on.
I didn't even plan. Look how it's looking over my head.
Mhm.
I didn't even plan that.
Sure, you didn't. Sure.
I swear to God.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's an honor to talk to you guys. I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, no, but
Sure.
thank you for taking the time, especially, when someone like you is so busy and you're doing so much promo and stuff. We really appreciate it. Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Well, promos change nowadays, right?
True. You could be at
And
home or in the studio.
yeah, and one thing that's crazy is that the whole world, I was talking to somebody from France the other day and they were like, man, France is about to shut down again. And, London, like everywhere is just shut down right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're in London.
What is it? Yeah, I know it. Huh?
What is it like where you are?
Right now where I am, it's like very smoky and like there are a lot of fires going on here. So in LA, so it's very gray and hot and it's wild right now.
We've seen some
Yeah.
of the pictures of, people have been posting them like with their hand out to show the smoke and show the sky and stuff. And you thought that it was Photoshop, didn't you, Shayna? I was like, what is this? This mist, this random. But no, it's just outside, it's just a cloud.
Yeah, it's just a lot of craziness going on. It just seems like the world is going through like a like in a cocoon right now or something, and we're supposed to come out like this beautiful butterfly or something, but hopefully that's what happens.
On a brighter note, what I will say is your hair looks great.
My hair?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Whoever did that, yeah, has got a degree in geometry because listen, this is just
Yeah.
it looks like maths. Levels.
Yeah. It was very tight the first hour I got it, but then it loosened up. So
Yeah.
yeah. I just grew my hair out in the last couple years, so it's been an experience.
I think it looks wicked.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can
I
you
like your
talk to
guys'
us?
hair too.
Thank you. Mine doesn't fit in the Zoom.
I know.
This is the
I
tie.
like that. I like that.
Down a little bit, Yinks, and then.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, okay, forget. Yeah, it's just a bit awkward. Talk to us about your brand new album, Detroit 2. What was it like making it?
It was a tough process making it, I'm not gonna lie. It was because first of all, I've been making music since I was 11 years old, right? And this was my fifth album, and I had done other projects too, aside from albums. And I was very burnt out. I feel like once you do something for over 10 years or 15 years, you lose your passion a little bit, or you have to figure out how to reignite yourself or how to re-excite yourself. So I was going through a lot of just like confusion because what was supposed to always make me happy, what was always my dream since I was like, in the eighth grade, was like, okay, I'm gonna do this music, be a rapper. And it wasn't making me happy anymore. So I didn't know what was going on. And I was super depressed. I had tons of anxiety. And I felt like hopeless. I felt like my life wasn't worth it. I felt all these things like on a daily basis. And it was just hard for me to even get through the day, honestly. So I had to stop everything I was doing because I felt like I was going to self-destruct if I didn't. And I was like, for the first time in my life, I had put myself first, like I always did it for like everyone around me, like giving my friends jobs, my mom, getting her a house, getting my family out of where we grew up from and like all these things. But it was like, I never really put myself as the priority. I never took care of myself so much. And it was an overflow, it was starting to show. So I just stopped everything and I lost a lot of opportunities, money, deals, because I didn't feel like being on social media at the time either. I just had to like really disconnect myself and couldn't reconnect with myself. So I did like some therapy, which really helped, you know. And I come from a family that they were in World War II, like my grandparents were. They were both, you know, amazing people, and they show love. But one of the things that trickled down from them, I think, is not being able to express themselves emotionally. You know, I think that's something that I picked up on. So it was a new way of living for me. And, you know, I also was working on myself spiritually a lot more, like really grounding myself and just rebuilding my foundation. So, you know, the music I was making before that, like literally in that period where after my last album, but before I started really working on myself intensely, it was like, I felt like it could be better. I felt like I wanted to do more, but I just couldn't figure out how. So once I really started working on myself, it felt like I expanded my whole bandwidth, and I came back and was able to just like talk about the things that I wanted to talk about. You know, while I was meditating every day intensely, and while I was doing that, I was going back to when I was like 19 or even 15 and like remembering the times that really got me excited and why I was sleeping in the studio. Like it really helped ignite my passion again and relight it. And it was like I returned back to my essence, but like as a new version of myself, a new and improved version. And, you know, that's when I started making all the music for the album for real. And, you know, I started talking about things when I was young. Like I talked about how I had a heart disease when I was 19 and like things that I had just compartmentalized and put aside and was able to like revisit and put out there. So for sure, it's like it's my most honest album to me. And, you know, a lot of other things as well, but it was a process.
I think that music, like any relationship, can be toxic, especially when you have been in it for so long. Was there ever a moment when you thought that you weren't going to return to recording or releasing music? Did you ever think this isn't for me?
Yeah, I did. But then I realized that, you know, that I really had to ask myself, what is my purpose in life? Like, what is my end goal, you know? And I realized that my goal for me personally was to inspire, right? That's like my whole life purpose, is to give inspiration, to be inspired, to uplift, to motivate, right? So it was like that the best way I can do that, and I love doing that, is through my music. And once I started living in that purpose, it re-inspired me to go like as hard as I could again with the music. So it was times where I did think that I was done, that it was like, okay, this isn't for me. But it really wasn't that it wasn't for me. It was that I had to expand how I was approaching it, you know?
I think a lot of the things you said literally in the past like 3 or so minutes are like very clear themes in your album, like meditation, like focus on yourself, taking time. So if this is the 5th studio album in 9 years, I believe your first one was in 2011. So it's like a good period of time. And obviously you changed from your first one to the 5th one. How has that journey been since making music from you were like 11 or knowing you wanted to do to 2020, we're here now, 5th studio album alongside mixtapes? It's been a good one and a long one.
It's been a beautiful journey. You know, it's been one of like a lot of emotions, a lot of doubt, you know, a lot of like testing my faith and like really going out and trusting yourself, you know. I've learned like a lot of like trust and like, you know, the most beautiful thing for my journey, honestly, is that not only have I done all those things, but I've been able to like collaborate with people that I respect so much, everyone I looked up to and idolized. Not only have I been able to work with, but they've also shown me respect back. And to me, that was like one of the greatest things I'm appreciative of. And like being on the pursuit of happiness and seeing it actually start to unfold is like amazing, you know?
Your album has so many features on it as well. Lil Wayne, Eminem, Anderson .Paak, loads more. How do you collate those sort of people? How does that come about? How do you organize it? How do you decide who's going to be on this project?
I mean, well, basically every feature. So Detroit 2 is the sequel to one of my biggest mixtape I did, and I feel like it was a real fan favorite, called Detroit. And on that project, I had a lot of features. So that's why I was like, I want to make sure I continue that and have features on this one. Because my last album, I only had like 2 features on it, or 3, I think, out of like 15 songs. And this one, I wanted it to feel like I was bringing like a festival to Detroit, and like people just like sharing stories about Detroit, like, you know, just all giving their energy to the place that made me, because it's such a special place, you know, and it's such a like soulful place, and an amazing city that does get overlooked sometimes, you know. So it was, everyone I collaborated with was a very like natural thing. Like we were in the studio. The only one that I had to send it to was Eminem. That's the only one. But that's just because I got lucky with an Eminem verse on my last album. So I didn't think that he would want to be on this one again. And my homie Royce was like, yo, did you hit a Marshall? And I was like, well, man, I already got a verse out of him. I'm not about to be hitting him up again, you know. But I sent him the song called Friday Night Cypher, which was like a collaboration of so many people from Detroit. And he immediately wanted to get on it. And it was like only a few days left to record the album. So that was cool. But yeah, mainly everybody was very natural, very like in the moment, like Anderson .Paak, you know, all those other people you named, Travis Scott, whoever else.
I think something that us British folk love about Americans is their love for their city. Like wherever you guys are from, that's your home. That's where you rep. That's where
you fly the flag.
Big time. Yeah. Always. Yeah. Like you just said, it's important in this album for you to tell like stories about Detroit. So you had like a few legends come through and just had their own little cuts in the album, their own little stories to Dave Chappelle. You had Erykah Badu on there, and of course Stevie Wonder with Story, which was beautiful. How did it feel for you hearing all these big names, these big legends with such beautiful like moments in your city to be on your album?
It was, man, it was like one of those things where that was like my dream list, you know, and I was like, it actually happened. So I was like, oh, this is tight. And how they all happened were so different. Like Stevie Wonder called me First of all, Stevie Wonder is like my favorite singer, songwriter. To me, he's the greatest of all time, you know. And he's from Detroit as well. So it was just like such a full circle moment for me. But he called me one time because Detroit, this is way back like in March, and Detroit was going through a very, very tough period with COVID. It was like in our country, it was like the 4th highest rated city, but it was like 15 times smaller than like New York and LA, but it had just as many cases. So he was like, how can we help? I never talked to him on the phone ever. He called me, like woke me up out of my sleep and was like, hey, it's Stevie Wonder. And I'm like, hello?
No,
you know? Yeah. And he was like, how can we help Detroit? And we ended up like collaborating with some stuff for our foundations behind the scenes. But then he asked me what I was doing, like what I was working on. And I told him I was working on an album called Detroit, you know, Detroit 2. And he was like, oh, I got to hear that. Like, what? I can't believe that. I got to hear it. Months went by and I'm turning my album in, and I finally reconnect with Stevie and I go to the studio. And he's like so cool. And he was like, yeah, I'll tell the story for your album, but I got to hear the music first, you know. I was like, okay. Play the music. And he was loving it so much that it was like my most proud moment that I've ever had. To get his validation, because he's not a rapper, you know, he's not a peer of mine. He's literally like so far into the stratosphere of like goatness that I was like, wow, thank you. You know, he was clapping, like he heard the song with me, Anderson .Paak, and Wale, and I remember he was clapping. Every song he was loving, man, and it was just great validation for me. And he was like, well, how can I be a part of, how can we do music? You know, I want to do some music on here with you too. I'll tell the story. And I was thinking about pushing my album back more, but then I was like, okay, if me and Stevie really do get around to doing music, I have to like take my time with this one and like really make it right, you know? So hopefully it does, you know, we do get back in there soon and like finish some music off. But it was great for him to tell the story. And Dave Chappelle, my dad I ran into Dave Chappelle hopping off a plane and he was hopping on a plane. So I'm walking up to Dave Chappelle and he's walking up to me like, yo, I love your dad. And I was like, what the fuck are you like, what? And he was like, your dad, man. I love your music too, but I love your dad. And I remember my dad called me a few months before that and he was like, hey man, I was just at Dave Chappelle's show. I was backstage with him, man. He loves you, son. He loves your music. He was showing me so much love. And I thought my dad was exaggerating the story a little bit. So I'm like, cool. So I had to call my dad back and be like, yo, dad, my bad. Like, I didn't realize that you made an impact on him for real. And, and then I told him about the album and he was down to do the story. And Erykah Badu, I just reached out to her. I didn't really know her. I met her like one other time and she had worked with the legendary Jay Dilla from Detroit. And I know she has like a lot of experience in Detroit. So she was down to like tell her side and story.
Yeah, it's full of legends. And the first single from your album features the late Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with him like?
Me and Nipsey were like, I met him in like 2008. So, and then we were on this freshman XXL cover in 2010. And we just had so much respect for each other. And like, it was like brothers that hardly saw each other, but when we saw each other, it was like we didn't miss a beat. Those are the people who you really got unconditional love for and respect for. You know what I mean? So it was a bittersweet thing to me for that song that he couldn't be here to really celebrate it with me, but his presence was heavily on it, and I'm glad I was able to finish it even after he passed. That was something that was very like hard for me to do because when the song came about, it was around the time when I was going through my like period of not really being that inspired, and like I had like a little scratch to it, but I couldn't really finish it off, you know what I mean? And really I thought it was just because I was having writer's block, but really it was because I didn't realize all that I had to talk about on there. I didn't realize all the experiences that I had to quickly go through and then put out on that song. So it was a deep one and one of my favorites though, just a real heartfelt hip hop, rap song.
Beautiful song. So over in the UK in October, it's going to be Black History Month. So we want to ask
in October?
Yeah. America's is February?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have in October. So we want to ask you a few questions for Black History Month.
Okay.
So who do you look up to for inspiration or motivation to achieve everything you've done in your career? Big question.
Who do I look up to? Let's see. Motivation, inspiration. A few different people. Musically, probably the person who has inspired me the most musically has got to be Kanye, just because of his willingness to be unapologetically him and to like, he never listened. I've seen him like when he signed me and he was making his album Graduation, like I saw the label calling him, like, I don't know if people are gonna like Can't Tell Me Nothing or Stronger and like all these songs. And he just really went with it and like went against people's words. So he's one of the people who have inspired me the most. I remember when College Dropout came out and I heard the last song on the album, that was like the song that made me cry. I never cry listening to music. I was always like inspired by like Bone Thugs, Mace, Biggie, Pac, all these Eminem, Wayne, especially mixtape Wayne at that time. But like that was the first time I got emotional and felt like I could really do it myself, so probably got to be Kanye and Stevie Wonder, really. That was like in my household growing up. Mm-hmm. It's like all Stevie Wonder.
And finally, this is a huge question. If you could pick one song that for you represents Black culture, what would you pick?
One song that represents Black culture.
No pressure. Like,
no pressure.
Fine.
Like ever?
We'll yeah.
I'll say Marvin Gaye, What's Going On.
Big tune.
Yeah, that's a beautiful like song, and it stands the test of time for me. And I feel like that was a time in music where it was easier to love than it is to hate. And I feel like in our world, we got into a point where it's easier to judge people and pick people apart so easily than it is to realize that you know, we're all human. We're not like machines, and it's like stuff we all are going through no matter what you know, who would have thought Chadwick was going through that, man? Who would have thought? You know, I knew Chadwick personally. I didn't know he was going through that. He used to come to my house sometimes and my shows, and I remember when he booked 42 to play Jackie Robinson, that was like when I started seeing him less, and he started getting busy. But maybe because he was going through that too, you know, and just remember people picking him apart, calling him this, or he looks this, or oh, you know, and he was literally a real life superhero in real life, you know, battling cancer and not telling anybody. And so the point of that is just like, you never know what people are going through, right? But when what's going on, you know, I feel like that was the time where we were really loving each other more. And now it's gotten to a point where it's like smash or pass, like this, how does this outfit look? How, you know, this, and it's first of all, I appreciate the internet and I love it for everything it's done for me, obviously, but it's just, I feel like it's gotten a little bit of, it's gotten a little dramatic, you know?
I think I think it's love a good meme, love a good joke, love a good laugh, or whatever it is. But sometimes also people are people and people are human and we are all real. And like you said, go through things and live lives outside of this.
Yeah, but I think that, like, especially for Shayna and I, so of course we're two girls who we're forward facing in our jobs, and every time we post anything or do anything, I'm like, oh, like, even this interview that's going to go on YouTube, that we try not to look at comments and we try not to look at anything like that, because people forget that you're human. So I can't even imagine what it's like to be as visible as somebody like you or somebody like Chadwick or somebody, you know, in the limelight internationally, because for me it's just in Peckham in South London that people recognize me.
Yeah, and the fact that you guys are Black women too in today's age. I mean, people always talk to me, like when I talk about what I still am going through it, you know, I still go through like a lot of anxiety, depression. I just know how to deal with it a lot better now though, you know, it's like still ups and downs. And people are like, yeah, as a Black man, it's like, you know, you don't, like, we're taught to be tough and be strong, not to express ourselves. But I'm like, as a Black woman, though, it is like, you guys not only have to deal with that, you have to deal with how tough it is to be a woman and the stereotypes that people put on you, you know, and like the stigma of like, oh, if she expresses herself this way, she's coming off as a bitch, or she's coming off as unstable, you know what I'm saying? And that is up, man. So I not only do my heart goes out, I respect y'all and I applaud y'all for being in the position you in, and like, you know, on Capitol, like keep representing, because there's a lot of people that's looking up to y'all, whether you know it or not. And like,
we're gonna cry right now,
isn't it?
Yeah, for real.
I'm gonna shed some thug tears.
Yeah, so keep wearing y'all hair, keep wearing it, you know, keep doing it.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. And thank you again for taking time out to chat to us.
No, of course. And thank you guys. Thanks for caring enough. You know, this is a real important album for me. So, you know, I do feel like it's the start of a whole new like era for me. So thank you.